आइए आज इकोनॉमिक्स रिवाइज करते हैं। एक क्वेश्चन में उन्होंने हाथ लगाया, मैंने सोचा आपके साथ साझा करना चाहिए। पहला क्वेश्चन, डिस्टिंग्विश बिटवीन स्टॉक एंड फ्लोज, गिव वन एग्जांपल ऑफ ईच। और मैं डिस्क्राइब द सर्कुलर फ्लो ऑफ इनकम। सेकंड है, इफ एन इन एन इकोनॉमी ए कंजम्पशन फंक्शन इज गिवन बाय सी इक्वल टू 100 प्लस 0.75 बाय एंड बी ऑटोनॉमस इन्वेस्टमेंट इज 150 करोड़, estimate equilibrium level of income. Or as a result of increase in investment by 125 crores, national income is increased by rupees 500 crores. Calculate marginal propensity to consume. Third, what is deficient demand in an economy? What is its impact on output, employment and prices? Fourth, how does economic growth contribute to the growth of infrastructure? Or what is the situation of women's health in India? Fifth, in spite of increase in public health expenditure, Indian health system is an ailing system in itself. Defend the statement citing any two major problems of health sector in India. Sixth, how will you treat the following items in the calculation of domestic income and national income of India? Give reason for your answer. Taking care of aged parents, payment of corporate tax, and expenditure on providing police service by the government. Or the value of the nominal GDP of an economy was rupees 2500 crores in a particular year. The value of GNP of that country during the same year, evaluated at the base year price, was rupees 3000 crore. Calculate the value of the GNP deflator of the year in the percentage terms. How has price level risen between the base year and current year? 7. Some infrastructural facilities have a direct impact on production of goods and services, while others give indirect support by building the social sector of the economy. Using the above information, differentiate between social and economic infrastructure. और 8 to 9 में इस पैसेज के बेसिस पे आंसर देना है, तो आप चाहे तो पैसेज पढ़ सकते हैं। Question 8. Mention the strategies followed by India and China which helped them to maintain a high growth rate for a decade. Ninth, mention some of the domains which are relevant in context of two countries. 10th, sale of petrol and diesel cars is rising particularly in big cities. Analyze its impact on GDP and welfare. 11th question, what is meant by inflationary gap? State two measures to reduce this gap. Question 12 में नेशनल इनकम निकालना है एक्सपेंडिचर मेथड यूज करके। B, state three precautions to be taken while measuring national income by expenditure method. और में इसका ही ऑप्शन है कि इसमें हमें जीडीपी या टेम्पे निकालना है गिवन इन्फॉर्मेशन यूज करके। और बी पार्ट है डिस्क्राइब द एक्सपेंडिचर मेथड ऑफ कैलकुलेटिंग ग्रॉस डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट एट मार्केट प्राइस। क्वेश्चन 13 का ए पार्ट है इट इज आवर मॉरल एंड सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू वर्क हार्ड फॉर सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट। डू यू अग्री? इफ यस, what would be done to achieve the objective of social development? B, is it necessary to generate employment in the formal sector rather than in the informal sector and why? अब इसकी मार्किंग स्कीम देखते हैं। आंसर 1, stocks means the quantity of an economic variable which is measured at a particular point of time. It has no time dimension. Stock is a static concept. Example, water in a tank. Flow is that quantity of an economic variable which is measured during a period of time. It has time dimension like per hour, per day, etc. Flow is a dynamic concept. Examples, flow of water from tank. और का आंसर है इसके it refers to the cycle of generation of income in the production process, its distribution among the factors of production, and finally its circulation from households to firms in the form of consumption expenditure on goods and services produced by them. The circular flow means the unending flow of production of goods and services, income, and expenditure in an economy. It shows the redistribution of income in a circular manner between the production unit and households. सेकेंड में कंजम्पशन फंक्शन में दिया हुआ था C इक्वल टू 100 प्लस 0.75 y, where y is the income in the economy. At equilibrium level of income, aggregate supply equal to aggregate demand. This implies y इक्वल टू C प्लस I. तो इसको इक्वल पुट कर देंगे y को प्लस I 150 करोड़ जोड़ दिया, तो अब सॉल्व करने के बाद y की वैल्यू आ जाएगी 1000 करोड़। और वाले का सॉल्यूशन भी दिया हुआ है। थर्ड, deficient demand refers to the situation where aid is short of AS corresponding to the full employment level in the economy. Effect on output: low level of investment and employment implies low level of output. Effect on employment: because of deficiency of demand, investment level is reduced. Accordingly, level of employment tends to fall. Effect on prices: fall in prices is the immediate consequence of deficient demand. Answer 4. Growth leads to economic growth leads to increase in demand for infrastructure, and whenever there is increase in demand of something, GDP growth increases traffic demand, requires change in transport supply. If provided catalyze GDP growth, otherwise constricts it, affects traffic demand. There is also increase in its supply if there is unused potential. It is shown with the help of a diagram. Or women have several disadvantages in the areas of health as compared to men. Women in India suffer from a serious neglect not only in the area of education but in the area of healthcare as well. More than 50% of women in India in the age group 15 to 49 years suffer from nutritional deficiency caused by iron morbidity and iron deficiency. It has contributed to 19% of maternal deaths. Abortions are major cause of maternal morbidity and mortality in India. Sex ratio is continuously declining and there is growing incidence of female feticide in the country. Close to 3 lakh girls under the age of 15 are married and have one child. Fifth, the health system has undoubtedly improved over years, but the pace of improvement has been unreasonably slow and truly we carry an unhealthy health system. Following may be most important concerns ailing Indian health system. First, low public expenditure. In India, the health expenditure as a percentage of GDP is, is abysmally low as compared to some of the major developing countries. It stood at around 4.7% of the total GDP in the year 2014 to 15. Urban rural divide. People living in rural India do not have sufficient medical infrastructure. Nearly 70% of the population lives in rural areas, which have only 20% of the total hospitals of the country. Women and child health issues. More than 50% of married women in the age group of 15 to 49 years have iron deficiency, which has contributed to maternal deaths. Infant mortality rate per thousand live births in India is 34. Malnutrition and inadequate supply of vaccines lead to death of millions of children every year. Answer 6. A. Take care of aged parents. This will not be included in the national income as it does not involve any production of goods and services. Moreover, these services that are meant for self-consumption and it is difficult to estimate the market value of such services. Payment of corporate tax. Corporate tax is a part of corporate profit and therefore it is included in the national income of the country. C. Expenditure on providing police services by the government. It is included in the national income of a country as it forms a part of government final consumption expenditure. Or GNP deflator equals real GNP upon nominal GNP into 100. तो GNP deflator की वैल्यू आ जाएगी 0.83. GNP deflator of 0.83 or 83% indicates that the price level has reduced by 17% between the base year and the year under consideration. Answer 7th. Difference between social infrastructure and economic infrastructure. Social infrastructure helps the economic system from outside, that is indirectly. Economic infrastructure helps the economic system from the inside, that is directly. Economic infrastructure helps the economic system from the inside directly. Economic infrastructure improves the quality of human resources. Expenditure on it will raise the stock of human capital over time. Social infrastructure leads to economic infrastructure. Expenditure on it will raise the stock of physical capital over time. Economic infrastructure leads to social infrastructure. This means both are complementary and supplementary to each other. Answer 8th. India and China have sustained the world's highest annual gross domestic product (GDP) growth rates over the past decade, 9% for China and 6 or 7% for India. The two countries have been among the world's most successful in weathering the challenges of the global economy's Great Recession since 2008. China's policy: China has accomplished this through a combination of a large government stimulus program and an effective infrastructure building program. India's similarly successful efforts in sustaining rapid growth despite the global recession have been due to its lesser dependence on exports to drive its economy and the expansion of domestic demand. Answer 9. First, the two countries' demographics have some bearing on most of economic issues. Second, China's and India's likely economic growth trajectories affect and are affected by most of them. Third, science and technology in the two countries which affect their respective competitive positions in several of these issues, as will their respective performance in the domain of defense spending and procurement. Answer 10th. Rise in sale of petrol and diesel cars implies that the private consumption expenditure will also rise. It leads to rise in gross domestic product of the country. However, it will not lead to an increase in the welfare of the people for the following reasons. First, the level of pollution will rise with rise in sale of petrol and diesel cars. The traffic congestion on the road will worsen. The already depleted reserves of petrol and diesel will be subjected to further depletion. Answer 11. Answer 11th. Inflationary gap refers to the excess of anticipated expenditure over the available supply of output at constant prices of base period. It is known as excess demand. Following are the two measures that can be used to correct the problem of inflationary gap: increasing bank rate. Bank rate is the maximum rate at which the central bank discounts first class bills of exchange and provides credit to the commercial banks. The central bank increases the bank rate to correct the situation of inflationary gap or excess demand in an economy. Higher bank rate reduces the lending capacity of the commercial banks as they get funds at a higher interest from the central bank. Consequently, money supply contracts in the economy as the public borrows less at high rate of interest and aggregate demand falls. Second one, selling government securities. Open market operation is the policy of the Central Monetary Authority to sell and buy the government securities in the market. The central bank sells government securities to commercial banks and general public in a bid to correct the situation of inflationary gap or excess demand. This decrease of the stock of high powered money in the economy. As a result, the purchasing power of the people declines, which decreases the aggregate demand in the economy. Numerical का solution ये रहा. Answer 12. National income by expenditure method equals private final consumption expenditure plus government final consumption expenditure plus net domestic capital formation plus net exports plus NFIA minus NIT. तो उसका सोल्यूशन करने के बाद नेशनल इनकम बाय एक्सपेंडिचर मेथड आएगी 1365 करोड़. बी. Precautions regarding calculation of national income by expenditure method. Expenditure on only final goods and services should be included in the national income estimation, while intermediate consumption expenditure should not be included. क्योंकि intermediate consumption का expenditure पहले ही final में included होता है. Second, similarly, expenditure on the purchase of second-hand goods should not be included in the national income estimation of the current accounting year. This is because they have already been included in the national income of the accounting year in which they were originally purchased. Expenditure on shares and bonds is not included. This is because these are mere financial assets and do not reflect any production activity of the goods or services. और सेकंड वाले पार्ट का सॉल्यूशन जिसे और कह सकते हैं हम, तो इसका एनडीपीए टैक्स टोटल आएगा 6300 करोड़. फिर पूरा सॉल्यूशन करने के बाद हमारा जीडीपी टैक्स आ जाएगा 6400 करोड़. बी. आप चाहे तो इसका सॉल्यूशन एक बार देख के लिख भी सकते हैं. बी. To calculate GDP at MP by expenditure method, we add up final expenditure on the goods and services produced by all the economic sectors of an economy. Expenditures incurred on consumption and investment are final expenditures. These are classified into first, private final consumption expenditure, second, government final consumption expenditure, third, gross domestic capital formation, and fourth, net exports, which is equal to exports less imports. The sum of total of these expenditures is GDP at MP, that is gross domestic product at market price. Step 1, identification of economic units incurring final expenditure like household or consuming sector or firms, or producing sector and government sector. Step 2, classification of final expenditure into following category. First, government final consumption expenditure, GFC, private final consumption expenditure, PSC, gross domestic capital formation, GCF, or net exports, NX. Answer 13. A. Yes, I agree with the given statement. The basic aim of sustainable development is to ensure that the present generation should leave stock of quality of life for next generation, which is no less than what we have inherited. Sustainable development can be achieved by following the five given rules. First, restrict the use of renewable resources. Renewable resources should be extracted on a sustainable basis, that is, the rate of extraction should not exceed the rate of generation. Second, substitute non renewable resources. As non renewable resources are depleted, renewable substitutes must be developed so as to maintain the flow of services over time. Third, become efficient. Technological progress should be made to become input efficient and not input consuming. It means effort should be made to produce more per unit of input. It will reduce the exploitation of resources. And B, yes, it is necessary to generate employment in the formal sector rather than in the informal sector because labor is exploited in the informal sector. In the formal sector, labor laws enable the workers to protect their rights in various ways. They earn more than those in the informal sector. It is necessary to generate employment in the formal sector than in the informal sector because those who work in the informal sector do not get any regular income or and do not get protection from the government. Workers are dismissed without any compensation. The technology used is outdated and they also do not maintain any accounts. Workers live in slums or badly built houses. Those who work in the formal sector, on the other hand, earn more than those in the informal sector and enjoy social benefits too. It is thus necessary to generate more employment in the formal sector. Thank you.